If you're watching this channel, it's very likely that you have kids, and therefore you are probably already an expert at the mating game. Welcome back to Making Everyday Magic. My name is Shauna, and if you are new here, we are a homeschooling family of 4. We are in our 9th year of homeschooling, and today I want to share with you a look inside not only a brand new game coming to the market, but also a brand new game company coming onto the scene. Let's go. Before we go any further, guys, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me right on down in the comments or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. Of course, as always, I will link everything that I am talking about down below and when applicable up in the corner. I want you to know that this video is going to be a little lengthy. It's going to have kind of a lot of moving parts. It's going to have a look inside the mating game. We are going to play the mating game, give our feels about the mating game, and we are going to talk to the maker, one of the makers of the mating game. So this is going to be really a fun video, but I will put timestamps down below if you just want to pick out the pieces that you would like to see. So let's talk about the mating game. The mating game, this is actually one of the prototypes of the game that is coming to the gaming scene from Pangolin Science Games, who is new to the gaming market. And this is actually a game company that was started and founded by a bunch of scientists who enjoy card games, scientists who enjoy sharing what they know in a fun and entertaining way. And I am not talking about people who used to be scientists or people who dabbled in science. I am talking about actual doctorate having, card carrying, real life scientists. So today we are going to further explore the mating game, which is their original offering, which will be launching soon on Kickstarter. Now, you may be like, Shauna, why are we even talking about this? One of the amazing perks of what I do here is that people reach out to me with new things. People reach out to me with things that are coming to the market. And as you know, our family, big board game people. We love board games, we love card games, and I am super passionate about anything that is fun to help you learn, because those connections are formed more easily if you learn something through fun and play than if it is just drilled into you with rote memorization. So I'm very passionate about getting kids to learn tough and complicated subjects. For example, biological selection through mating in a way that is going to be fun and entertaining. I also love things that do not take a million hours, as you can see here, and I am really happy to be able to come here and share things with you that not only are out, but that are coming out. Now, I'm gonna have everything linked for you down below as far as where you can find out about the program, where you can sign up to help support the Kickstarter if you want to pre-purchase the game. If you don't feel like any of those is the right answer for you, I would like for you to at least please consider using your social currency. Like, support, and share is one of the best things that you can do to get the word out on amazing products that are coming onto the scene for homeschoolers, for educational resources, especially for secular science resources, which is exactly what this is. So if you can, please scroll down, hit that link, or I will be sure to link it right up here, follow that over, and look at the Kickstarter campaign. Now, before we go any further, guys, let me jump in, and I'm going to give you a look inside the box, inside the mating game. Let's go talk about it. Okay, guys, here we are. Inside look at the mating game. As you can see right on the front of the box, it tells you 2 to 6 players, ages 10 and up, and it'll take about 20 minutes. You guys know I love a quick gameplay. Now, there's a lot of information right on the back of the box to let you know that it's fun for all ages, scientifically accurate gameplay, and then give you a small idea of what is included inside the packaging. So let's open up the box and take a look. Now, as you can see, the pieces my daughter pointed out, we've got our rule book here, high gloss, all the information you could possibly need. It breaks down gameplay. The rule book is quite lengthy, and that is because it does have fun facts. It has more information. It has these blue boxes that say, did you know, that give you a little bit more information about the process, about the mating game, about what goes into sexual selection and mating. And then it has a lot of animal facts, a lot of entertainment, and then it has various ways that you can change this game up. So you can change the way you play the game to have different outcomes. It talks about the learning outcomes, the things that you can expect your homeschooler or your student, if you're with public school, to learn based on this game. It's got the highlight, the shout outs for the teams. It's got fun drawings. Again, I like that it's a high glossy printing. My daughter liked that the pieces inside the game come in little like resealable Ziploc bags. So I do hope that they keep that with the final product. But first, we're going to take a look at there's a deck of strategy cards. There's the out to lunch card. There's 6 of those. There are 78 strategy cards. 30 are combat, red, so we're fighting. 30 are flashy, so we're showing off. And 18 are the special green cards. And that is how you kind of circumvent the play of other people. Now, we have the nest trackers. Now, the nest trackers, they're all 6 of them are different. They're really cute. Mound, burrow, den, things like that. So they're really cute. My daughter was very excited to choose the one based on dogs and wolves, so she chose the den. And then there are the little meeples and dice, and then the little those are the little meeples, so those are the females that go up in the stands on the game board. And then these are your food tracking on your little nest trackers. And there are 6 combat dice that you will roll at certain points, and they've got the environment cards. Now, the environment cards let you know what is going on in your environment. Okay, so they've got little logos on them that will tell you how much food you get for an area, how much the little like blue ribbon is like the fitness, the little red fox is predators, the little skull with the bow is female scarcity, and then offspring is signified by a little cracked egg. Now, this is the game board. It's so cute. I love all of the little characters and how they're like fighting it out. Different species fighting it out cracks me up. Okay, guys, now that you've had a look inside the game, let's play it, and I'll share my thoughts as we go through I think we played 2 full rounds in this video of the mating game. Okay, guys, so here is gameplay. As I told you, we did play this with a 9-year-old 4th grader and a 13-year-old 8th grader. Only a little bit was my 8th grader a little shy about the subject matter of the game and the discussion of sex, but it got over very quickly because there is not actually anything sexual about the game. It's just about sexual selection, which I understand that you wouldn't think those things can be true, but they are. We have our little meeples. It did take my youngest one a little bit more hand holding to get through the game. So if you are playing with somebody young, it's going to take them a little bit longer to get kind of on board and understand what's happening. So the whole point of the game is to use strategies to convince females that you're a worthy suitor. A player wins by attracting more females and thus getting more offspring than any other player. And the first player to get 10 offspring wins. It really does go pretty quickly once you get started. We had a really good time. The way that the game works is you play your strategy. So you have to be able to pay the cost of the food using your little tracker to keep track of how many offspring you have as well as how much food you have. And then once you have chosen your strategy, so a blue card or a red card, you then go into the survive phase. And so you check for predators and female scarcity and the food that you can gain from your environment. So that is the card that you do turn over, the big kind of rectangular card that you turn over at the bottom of your game board. And then you combat. So in the combat phase, you will roll the dice to determine the fitness, like who wins once we're battling it out there with those red cards, as you can see. And then the winner gets offspring, and so they win. Then we go to the mating phase where every little offspring is translated into your tracker on your card, and then you can draw and manage the hand, and you can discard some cards, or you can kind of sit out one hand by playing your out to lunch card, as you see visible here. Blue cards, it's just equates to whatever's on the blue card you do. So it's extra flashy, you win. And then the red cards, you actually roll the dice to fight it out. So it is pretty entertaining. I like the different options. I like that you are learning so much as the game goes on. In our first game, we really didn't kind of get to it, but by our second game, we were reading the fun facts on the card. We were learning more about the animals portrayed. And I love that there's so many different directions that you can take this gameplay. You can learn about the individual animals. You can learn about the behaviors that they're exhibiting to help you understand more about sexual selection as far as biological predictors are happening, but also that, there's game variants to take you a step further. There's worksheets to help you understand, help your learners understand what you're actually learning in the game. There are a lot of ways that you can make this game a very serious learning tool, but you can also just sit down like we did while playing this game, while dinner is cooking, and just go over the game. And guess what? Everybody picked up on something. Everybody had their favorite card. We got into those serious habits of figuring out what worked best for us. And so we had our own little kind of like strategies that we would prefer. We had a great time reading the cards and enjoying the gameplay, engaging as a family, and it really, really is fun gameplay. So if you're unsure if you should give it a chance, head over to Tabletopia. You can play the game for yourself, and I will have everything linked for you down below. If you just want to give Pangolin Games just a quick follow, it's really helpful in getting fun and amazing resources out to the public, out in our hands and off the ground. If you can just give them a little bit of love, give them a little bit of feedback if you play the game, or you can invest a little bit in the Kickstarter campaign, get one of the first editions of the game that will be going out, or just give them a little social currency so that they can get in front of more viewers, get out into the world, and get the mating game into the hands of the people who are going to use it, the hands of the people who are going to benefit from having access to this game. So the whole point of this game, the learning outcomes that you can expect are to know what sexual selection is and how it influences animal mate choice strategies, become familiar with a variety of mating strategies, understanding that many organisms use similar traits in nature, and predict the trade-offs between the success, reproductive, and survival of a strategy in a natural environment, which is the fitness, as it is affected by natural selection. Head on over to Tabletopia to try the virtual version of the mating game for yourselves, and head on down to the description box down below to get all of the links to Pangolin Science Games, including head straight on over to the mating game. Now that you've seen how the game works, what's included in the box, let's talk with one of the makers. Can you share a bit about your background as a biologist and how that led to you creating an educational game?
Yeah, so I've always loved biology. I've always loved science since I was a little kid. I had this little dinosaur book when I was 4 years old, and I read everything in that book. I knew all about the dinosaurs, their lengths, their heights, what period of time they lived in. I was annoying to watch Jurassic Park with because, of course, Jurassic Park was super inaccurate. At least I thought it was. And as I grew up, I realized that, maybe paleontology wasn't it for me, but I wanted to be in science. So I tried out physics. I tried out microbiology. And by the time I got to grad school, I had decided to be a microbiologist. But a lot of microbiology in my undergrad was all about human health. And I realized that wasn't interesting. So I joined a lab that was actually working in Antarctica on environmental microbiology. And so I even got to go down there, which, segued into astrobiology, the study of life on other planets. I did a PhD, even though I didn't, when I started the PhD, I knew I didn't actually really want to do a PhD. I was in love with science, but I didn't enjoy the process of research, but I didn't know what else to do. And I think I kind of wanted the PhD, the credentials, the stamp, and that appealed to me. So I struggled through the PhD. And during my PhD program, this is where the games come in. I had the opportunity to go to New Zealand for a summer to work in another researcher's lab. And I was driving around, and I love New Zealand. It's very naturey there, very outdoorsy, and they have lots of really interesting, unique organisms. And I saw this plant. It's called a cabbage tree. It doesn't look anything like a cabbage. I'm not sure why they call it the cabbage tree, but it's just very unique. And I had grown up playing card games like Pokemon and Magic and other board games. And I looked at that tree while I was driving, and I said, "Wouldn't it be cool if that were on a card, like a card you could collect?" And that was kind of the very start. And back then, this was 2014, and so there was a lot of, it still is, but there's a lot of controversy over climate change. What's causing it? Is it real? What does it matter? Do we have to do anything about it? What should we do about it? And I knew that there was political division, and I was thinking it would be a cool way. I thought games might be a cool way to bring people in a non-threatening setting to just discuss species diversity and what happens in an ecosystem and why something like climate change is worth at least learning about. And so I went home after that summer and I started messing around on PowerPoint and designing. I'm not a graphic designer, so I have no idea what I was thinking, but I actually drew out a whole bunch of game, a design for this game, and I made the design before I made the game, and so the game never really worked. But my friend, while I was doing this in my free time as a grad student, noticed that I was doing it, and she was taking a class, a teaching class, how to teach biology class, and one of their assignments was to make an activity, and she wanted to make a game teaching mate selection, sexual selection. And so she's like, "Hey, let's work together on this." I'm like, "Hey, that sounds like fun. I'll put this game on pause because frankly, I have no idea how to do this." And we worked together on this game, and it turns out that it's a lot easier and more fun to build something together than it is by yourself. And so that was 2014, 2015. And we've been working on the mating game since then. And so that kind of also answers the question of why the mating game. She just happened to be researching that. And is it the best first game to launch out with? I don't know, but it's the one we did. So
I'm biased. It was fun. It was fun.
oh, good.
And
I'm
you
glad.
sound after our own hearts here as homeschool parents. Our kids are nerds. Like, for lack of a better term, like wonderfully, joyfully, life-changing, world-altering nerds. So I love to hear everything that you just said. My youngest, her favorite phrase is, "That's not scientifically accurate." It's like one of her favorite things to say. So I love everything about what you just said. It just sounds like you
Okay.
indulged your passions and you went far and you created a fun thing out of something that you already found interesting that now can translate to being fun and interesting and educational for others. And I think that's really great, really great. Okay, so why do you think that games are an effective tool for teaching science, especially in homeschool?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, to jump right off what you just said, one of the things that we set out to do from the very start was to make the game fun. And there's a number of reasons. One's a practical reason, I think, and I haven't done a ton of research on this, to the level that I would like to as a PhD. But just simply from a learning perspective, human beings learn the things that they're interested in. Like I like to say that everyone is a learner. We kind of stereotype and say, oh, people that read books and go do well in school, they're learners. But every human learns something, right? Because you get interested in something, you learn all about it. So if pop culture is your thing, people who love pop culture, they know a ton about pop culture. People who love music, they know a ton about music, and that all comes from interest and engagement. And for me, the way that people learn is through seeing a practical purpose, something that interests them. And so games are great because to play a game, you have to win the game. Or even just to play. And so it gives you a purpose to do something. And so you're learning not just for some arbitrary reason for a test or for whatever, but because there's this fun task. And if you're doing it with other people, it's fun and the learning happens regardless. And I thought that was super, super important because I remember walking around school all the time, coming out of class, being excited about the content and hearing people saying, "Oh man, I wonder what's going to be on the test." I wonder, like, they were constantly worried about how to learn the information to get to pass the test. And they were never interested. And this is bias. This is totally anecdotal, but it didn't seem like anyone was actually interested in the content. And so that's the deep roots of why Andy thinks games are cool. Another thing is that I really wanted to access people who weren't going to college or who hadn't gone to college or like my mom. who was in a generation where education was probably even less innovative. I mean, definitely less innovative than now. She loved biology. She wanted to learn, but she had a bad experience in biology high school, and she never took another biology class in her entire life. And I wanted to find a way to reach people who weren't going through college. So just becoming a college professor wasn't going to cut it. So games I thought were a really cool way of approaching anyone and anyone, families with older generation, younger generation, and making science intuitive and fun. And then, of course, as PhDs, we wanted to make sure that the science that we were teaching, especially if we wanted to make it intuitive and household, was accurate. So I didn't set out the game. Full disclosure, I didn't set out the game to make it for homeschool families. But when we made the game, I wanted to make it work for homeschool families and for in the formal classroom setting, so like public school, but also just people who wanted to get together and play a fun game. And hey, they happen to think this game is fun, and if they want to learn, there's some stuff in the rule book. And so that was my big vision, and I think that it works. It should work really well in the homeschool community because it's modular and because you don't need to be an expert in biology to use it, because the game does the teaching and then we can provide the stuff on the outside. So that's kind of my goal.
It's fun to play, but then you also took it a step farther, which is where I think it is more tailored to the homeschool community. And you've even got worksheets. Like, you're ready. You've thought about how to incorporate it into a lesson. So what do you think is what does Andy think is ideal usage? Just to play the game for fun, or full on we are deep diving every card in the game? Like, what's your ideal?
So my ideal usage is that as many people in the world can access this game and any game we make because it's accessible to the way they want to play. So high school teachers will use it because it works in high school. Middle school teachers will use it because it works in middle school. People who just want to play games or have a casual game night with their friends will play it. I actually had a friend of mine who was willing to do that. She brought over her girlfriends. They were all in their 40s moms, probably not a ton of biology experience, and they played it. And most of the people she invited over weren't gamers, right? So this is not a niche community. That made me, and she said that they enjoyed it, and some of them expressed interest, like, "Oh, my husband would love this game," and they were laughing, and that makes me super excited. I want science to be this household, intuitive, non-threatening concept. For a homeschool teacher, or sorry, parent, the way I would use it for my 4 kids is we designed the game with layers, right? So you can play it at a 9-year-old level and just talk about the difference between the blue and the blue and the red cards, right? Those are kind of like the starting point of sexual selection. There's 2 different ways of attracting a mate. You can either combat, you can outcompete your components or your opponents, or you can just try to attract the female directly. That's basic sexual selection 101. You can go a step deeper and you can talk about how the environment influences that. You can, you play with the environment cards, and we actually have variants suggested in the game. And then you can go even a step deeper, which is more the college level, and talk about investments, right? So which level do you invest, high or low or medium, and how does that relate to energy and environment? So now you get into far more abstract stuff. And so if I were going to do it, I would probably do it over a couple of different days, a whole thing, and then play the game multiple times with each one of those steps. But we have additional variants. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but you can modify the environment. So you can spend a whole week really talking about the relationship between environment and animal behavior and animal selection, because this is also a game about evolution. And so you could take the game and use it at increasing depths. And right now with the rule book we sent you and the activities we sent you, we've only kind of skimmed the surface of the things we could do. And the mating game is probably not the ideal example of that, but that was our goal. And so in future games, it'll probably be even more of that. But yeah, you could take each card and you go even deeper. I don't think that's necessarily important for the general public to know that details, but it could be a launching off point for unit studies or self-led interest, and yeah.
In our experience, I could tell we'd gotten comfortable with like the rules of gameplay when my kids would kind of stop paying attention enough to start reading the fun facts on the card, and so that's how I knew that we had like gotten it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good because they could invest that energy somewhere else. Okay, so what kind of feedback have you gotten from gameplay? Because it's not out yet.
Correct.
Okay, so in testing, what have you heard? Something that makes you proud?
So that makes me proud. I love the fact that the topic actually makes people laugh. So it's about sexual selection and it's about the mating game itself. I've gotten some people told me, hey, you should change the name because that's, a bad name. My father-in-law thought it was adult content. I'm not sure why, but this comes up a lot. I think our society has a certain relationship with sex. And as a biologist, and if I didn't make it clear, I made this game with someone else. And we, as biologists, have a very different relationship with sex because in biology, it's just it's just part of biology. And so it's been really fun to see how people engage with that aspect. Our artists, we had different names for especially the green cards. We had the more scientific names, and they felt really uncomfortable with those names. And so we changed the names to make it more accessible, but also left the real stuff in the text at the bottom. And I just think it's fun. Some people they open up, they look at the cards, they look at the art, they look at the characters, and they just kind of start giggling to themselves. I think that's my favorite part. We've played it in high schools, and they just think it's fun, and the colors are vibrant. And then I do like to hear just people who aren't gamers, like my wife. She's not a gamer. She's not super into strategy board games or heavy things. She likes it. She actually beats me at it more often than not because I like designing games. I'm not super good at playing them apparently, and that makes me super happy. So I think those are my favorite things. Oh, sorry, I do have one more to add. I was playing with my best friend from growing up. He has very little background in biology. Didn't even believe in evolution when we were kids. And I played the game one time with him without explaining any of the biology. And he whips out at the end, he's like, oh, so like when animals do this, it's because of that. And I was like, oh, perfect, right? I love that people can intuit the real phenomenon from the game without me saying anything and without it being like, you don't have to remember it. Now they remember it because they played it, 15, 20 times in a row. So those are my favorite things.
Ideal. As a homeschool parent, that's ideal. That's what we want to happen. That kind of natural connection made. Okay, so Pangolin Games, love the logo, love the fact that you're going with the pangolin. What's next? What's next for Pangolin Games? We've got the mating game. It's coming out. You're going to tell us how to find it and when it's coming.
Yes. So the immediate next step is I have to learn how to market a game and engage with not one community, but three communities. So the high school, the public education, the homeschooler, and the game community, which has been fun so far, but also challenging. I'm going to launch the game on Kickstarter. I don't have a date yet because I have to have enough support, I think, to launch it. But fast forward, so the we'll launch the game. Hopefully, we'll get it into people's hands and they can play it and they can fall in love with it and then they can be wanting more. I already have, I think, 3 games that I'm working on that I have been working on that are going to cover different topics. I'm hoping to get feedback, and I have an opinion, right, about the kinds of topics that I want people to really engage with. Right now, we're just focusing on biology. If this works, I'm interested. I've already made connections with people kind of in my shoes, but in different fields like chemistry and physics and geology. I'd love to expand this and just create a whole ecosystem of games that people can pick and choose from to play either casually or in their classrooms or at home. I'd also really like to build a website that provides much more in-depth activities surrounding the games. That's in the future. That's my vision. But yeah.
Is there anything else that you want anybody to know?
So there is a place to play the game online. It's called Tabletopia. If you want to try it out and see if you want to back it, I can send you a link and you can
make a note.
Yeah. So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Bluesky. If you're interested in what I'm doing, please follow. The more support we have, the easier it'll be to launch and get the money to make this a thing, even if you don't feel comfortable yet backing us. The other thing I'll say is if you want the game, the Kickstarter is the best way to buy it, even though it'll take time. It'll probably take about 6 months from the completion of the campaign. It'll probably take about 6 months to get through all of the, finalizing the steps and then ordering them and bringing them over here. That's the best way to do it because this first run, I probably won't print very many games. And so that's the easiest way if you think you're going to want the game. And it also means that, like, if you're going to wait for the game, if you want it, but you decide to wait, then I might not be able to get a Kickstarter at all. So if you think this sounds cool and you want to give it a try, play it out on Tabletopia. It's a great place to play the game. on the internet, and then back to Kickstarter.
And I think that's a really important thing to note. If there are resources that we want to see as home educators, as parents, as just people, game players, whatever, if you want to see the resources, get your hands dirty making the resources happen, right? So fund the Kickstarter, give the interest, make the follow, pay, even if it is just in that social currency. Share the links, share the things, do what you can to help make it a reality.
Yes. Yeah, if you think this sounds great, that's how you can participate. And then also be a part of the community and let me know. I want to make this helpful. I want people to learn science in a fun way. And so if you have some ideas or if you have things that you'd like to see, let me know. I can't guarantee that I can do all this stuff, but like I want feedback. I want to make this I want to have fun making games. I want to make games that are fun, but I also want to make games that are helpful.
If you found any of this helpful, entertaining, or informative, scroll down and hit that link to head over to support Pangolin Science Games and the brand new upcoming release of the mating game. Also, while you're down there, give this video a thumbs up, hit that big red subscribe button. Let us know how you feel about the idea of a game. I'm super curious, guys. What do you think about the mating game? Are you excited to tackle a complex subject? Are you excited to break down something that is kind of complicated, something that isn't often discussed with its surrounding sex? And are you excited to get your hands on something that breaks it down so simply, so easily, for great age groups in a quick play? Now, keep in mind, you guys know I don't like to use as prescribed, but the fact that the folks over at Pangolin Science Games have put enough thought into the game to give you worksheets and to give you more resources to expand, I think that's really where the mating game becomes an excellent educational resource. Don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions that you might have, as well as keep in mind that we did play this with a 13 8th grader and a 9-year-old 4th grader. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you'd like any more information, you can follow them. I will have all of their socials linked down below. I will let you know where you can find out absolutely everything you are interested in about Pangolin Science Games, what they'll have next. I'm really excited about what they'll be able to put together, but the first thing we have to do is help them get off the ground. So head on over, follow them, share their socials, and hit up that Kickstarter campaign.